My name is Emma, and this is my story. It's about love, mistakes, and learning what really matters in life. I want to tell you everything that happened to me from the very beginning. 3 years ago, I was 25 years old. I lived alone in a small apartment in the city. Every day was the same. I woke up at 7 o'clock. I went to work at a small bookstore. I came home at 6 o'clock. I ate dinner. I watched television. Then I went to sleep. My life was quiet and safe. I didn't have many friends. I didn't go to parties. I didn't date anyone. My mother always called me and said, "Emma, you need to get out more. You need to meet people." But I was happy with my quiet life. Or, at least, I thought I was happy. I worked with an older woman named Mrs. Chen. She was very kind to me. Sometimes she brought me homemade soup when I looked tired. "You work too hard, Emma," she would say. "You need to find someone special to share your life with." I always smiled and said, "Maybe someday, Mrs. Chen." But I never really believed it would happen. It was a Tuesday in October. The weather was terrible. Rain was falling hard, and the wind was very strong. Our bookstore was almost empty because people didn't want to go out in the bad weather. I was putting books on the shelves when I heard the doorbell ring. A man walked in. He was completely wet from the rain. Water was dripping from his dark hair and his blue jacket. He looked around the store with a confused expression. "Excuse me," he said. "I'm looking for a book about cooking. It's for my sister's birthday." I walked over to help him. When I looked into his brown eyes, something strange happened. My heart started beating very fast. I felt nervous and excited at the same time. This had never happened to me before. "What kind of cooking does she like?" I asked. He smiled, and his whole face changed. He looked so warm and friendly. "She loves making desserts. Cakes, cookies, that kind of thing." I led him to the cooking section. We talked about different books. He told me his name was David, and he was new in the city. He had just moved here for a new job. His sister lived far away, but her birthday was coming soon, and he wanted to send her something special. We spent almost an hour looking at books together. He was so easy to talk to. He made me laugh several times. I felt like I had known him for years, not just 1 hour. Finally, he chose a beautiful book about French desserts. When he paid for it, he looked at me and said, "I know this might sound crazy, but would you like to have coffee with me sometime?" I was so surprised. My face became very red. I don't know," I said. "It's okay if you say no," David said quickly. "I just thought we had such a nice conversation. And I'm new here. I don't know many people yet." I looked at his kind face and made a decision that would change my life. "Okay," I said. "I would like that." He gave me his phone number and I gave him mine. After he left, Mrs. Chun came over to me with a big smile. "That young man likes you very much," she said. I could see it in his eyes. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about David's smile and the way he looked at me. For the first time in years, I felt truly excited about something. David called me the next day. We met at a small coffee shop near the bookstore. I was so nervous that my hands were shaking. But as soon as I saw him, I felt better. He had the same warm smile, and he seemed just as nervous as I was. We talked for 3 hours. He told me about his job as a computer programmer. He told me about his family, his dreams, and his fears. I told him about my love for books, my quiet life, and my dreams of maybe writing a book someday. "You should write a book," he said. "I can tell you have many interesting stories inside you." Nobody had ever said anything like that to me before. We started meeting every few days. Sometimes we went to movies. Sometimes we walked in the park. Sometimes we just sat in coffee shops and talked. David made me feel special. He listened to everything I said. He remembered small details about my life. When I had a bad day at work, he brought me flowers to make me feel better. After 2 months, David asked me to be his girlfriend. I said yes without thinking. I was completely in love with him. For the first time in my life, I understood what people meant when they talked about love. It felt like the sun was shining inside my heart. David was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. He was kind, funny, intelligent, and caring. He made me want to be a better person. With him, I started going out more. I made new friends. I even started writing in the evenings just like he had encouraged me to do. My mother noticed the change in me immediately. "Emma, you look so happy," she said when I visited her. "What happened?" When I told her about David, she cried with joy. "I'm so happy for you, sweetheart. I was worried you would always be alone." 6 months later, David and I moved in together. We found a beautiful apartment with big windows and lots of light. I had never been so happy in my life. Every morning, I woke up next to the person I loved most in the world. Every evening, we cooked dinner together and talked about our days. David was the perfect boyfriend. He helped me with everything. When I was sick, he took care of me. When I was stressed about work, he made me laugh. When I felt scared about the future, he held me and told me everything would be okay. We started talking about marriage. David said he wanted to spend his whole life with me. He said I was the best thing that had ever happened to him. I believed him completely. My writing was going well too. I was working on a romance novel in the evenings. David always read what I wrote and gave me helpful advice. "You're going to be a famous writer someday," he would say. "I believe in you." Mrs. Chun was so happy to see how my life had changed. "Love is a beautiful thing," she told me. "You and David are perfect for each other." I agreed with her. David and I never fought. We never disagreed about anything important. We both wanted the same things in life: a peaceful home, maybe some children in the future, and time to enjoy simple pleasures together. Everything seemed perfect. Too perfect. 1 year after we moved in together, something changed. At first, I didn't notice it. The change was very small. David started coming home later from work. He said he was very busy with a new project. I believed him. Then he started checking his phone more often. Even when we were having dinner or watching a movie, he would look at his phone. When I asked him about it, he said it was just work emails. I believed him again. One evening, David's phone rang while he was in the shower. Without thinking, I looked at the screen. The name Sarah appeared. I didn't know anyone named Sarah. David had never mentioned a Sarah to me. When David came out of the bathroom, I asked him, "Who is Sarah?" He looked surprised for a moment. Then he said, "Oh, she's just someone from work. She was probably calling about the project." I wanted to believe him, but something felt wrong. David looked uncomfortable. He couldn't look me in the eyes when he answered. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the phone call. Who was Sarah? Why had David looked so uncomfortable when I asked about her? Over the next few weeks, David became more and more distant. He worked late every night. He stopped reading my writing. He stopped asking about my day. When I tried to talk to him, he seemed distracted. I felt like I was losing him, but I didn't know why. I tried to be the perfect girlfriend. I cooked his favorite meals. I didn't complain when he came home late. I gave him space when he seemed stressed. But nothing worked. David seemed like a different person. The warm, loving man I had fallen in love with was disappearing. One Saturday afternoon, David said he had to go to work for a few hours. This was strange because he had never worked on weekends before. After he left, I felt so lonely and confused that I decided to go for a walk. I was walking through the park when I saw something that broke my heart. David was sitting on a bench with a beautiful woman with long blonde hair. They were holding hands and laughing together. Then I watched David lean over and kiss her. I felt like someone had hit me in the chest. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I just stood there, watching the man I loved with another woman. I ran home and cried for hours. When David came back that evening, he acted like nothing had happened. "How was work?" I asked, my voice shaking.
"Fine," he said.
"Just the usual boring stuff." He lied to me so easily. I realized that he had probably been lying to me for weeks. I didn't sleep for 3 nights. I kept thinking about what I had seen in the park. I kept wondering how long David had been seeing this other woman. I kept asking myself if our entire relationship had been a lie. On Tuesday evening, I decided I had to know the truth. When David came home from work, I was waiting for him. "We need to talk," I said. David looked nervous. "What about?" "I saw you in the park on Saturday," I said. "With her." David's face went completely white. He sat down on the couch and put his head in his hands. For a long time, he didn't say anything. "How long?" I asked. 3 months, he whispered. 3 months. For 3 months, David had been living a double life. For 3 months, he had been telling me he loved me while he was with another woman. "Do you love her?" I asked. David looked up at me with tears in his eyes. "I don't know," he said. "I'm so confused, Emma. I never meant for this to happen." "But it did happen," I said. "You chose to make it happen." David started crying. "I love you, Emma. I really do. But Sarah, she's different. She's exciting. She makes me feel alive in a way I had forgotten." Each word was like a knife in my heart. "And I make you feel dead?" I asked. "No, that's not what I mean," David said quickly. "You make me feel peaceful and happy. But with Sarah, I don't know how to explain it." I understood what he meant, and it hurt even more. I made David feel comfortable and safe, but I didn't make him feel passionate. I was the woman he could build a life with, but she was the woman he desired. "I need you to leave," I said. "Emma, please. Can't we work this out? Can't we try to fix this?" I looked at the man I had loved more than anything in the world. "How can I ever trust you again?" I asked. "How can I ever believe anything you say?" David didn't have an answer for that. David moved out the next day. He took his clothes and his books and his computer. He left behind the coffee cup I had bought him for his birthday. He left behind the plants we had chosen together for our apartment. He left behind 2 years of memories. After he was gone, I sat on the couch and cried until I had no more tears left. Then I just sat in the silence. The apartment felt huge and empty without David's laughter filling it. I called in sick to work for a week. I didn't want to see anyone or talk to anyone. I just wanted to hide from the world. Mrs. Chen called me several times, but I didn't answer the phone. My mother came to visit me. She brought soup and tissues and sat with me while I cried. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," she said. "I know how much you loved him." "I thought he was the one," I sobbed. "I thought we would be together forever." "I know," my mother said. "But maybe this happened for a reason. Maybe David wasn't the right person for you after all." I couldn't imagine how that could be true. David had been perfect for me. Or, at least, I had thought he was perfect. Slowly, very slowly, I started to put my life back together. I went back to work. Mrs. Chen was so kind to me. She didn't ask too many questions. She just made sure I ate lunch every day and gave me small tasks to keep me busy. "Heartbreak is terrible," she told me one day. "But it's not the end of the world. You're young and strong. You'll love again." I didn't believe her, but I appreciated her kindness. I stopped writing. Every time I looked at my romance novel, I thought about David reading it and encouraging me. I couldn't bear to continue the story about two people finding perfect love when my own love story had ended so badly. I spent most evenings alone in my apartment, reading books and watching television. I felt like I was back where I had started 3 years ago, except now everything hurt. Before I met David, I had been content with my quiet life. Now I knew what I was missing, and the loneliness felt much worse. Some nights, David called me. "Emma, I miss you so much," he would say. "I made the worst mistake of my life. Can we please try again?"
Part of me wanted to say yes.
Part of me wanted to forgive him and pretend that nothing had happened. But I couldn't forget the image of him kissing another woman in the park. I couldn't forget how easily he had lied to me. "I can't, David," I would say. "I can't trust you anymore." After a few months, he stopped calling. 8 months after David left, I was feeling a little better. I was still sad, but I wasn't crying every day anymore. I was starting to think that maybe, someday, I might be happy again. One Saturday, I decided to go to the art museum. I hadn't been anywhere fun in months, and I thought it might be good for me to get out of my apartment. I was looking at a painting of a beautiful garden when someone said, "Excuse me, aren't you Emma from the bookstore?" I turned around and saw a man with kind eyes and graying hair. He looked familiar, but I couldn't remember where I had seen him before. "I'm sorry," I said. "Do I know you?" He smiled. "I'm Tom. I used to come to your bookstore about 2 years ago. I always bought mystery novels. You gave me some great recommendations." Then I remembered him. Tom had been one of our regular customers. He was always very polite and friendly. He had stopped coming to the store about the time I started dating David. "Oh yes, I remember you," I said. "How are you?" "I'm well, thank you. What about you? You look a bit sad." I was surprised by his directness, but also touched by his concern. "I've had a difficult year," I admitted. "I'm sorry to hear that," Tom said. "Would you like to get some coffee?" I was just about to leave, and "I'd love to hear how you've been." I hesitated. I hadn't had a real conversation with anyone except Mrs. Chun and my mother in months. But Tom seemed safe and kind. "Okay," I said. Tom and I went to a small cafe near the museum. He was very easy to talk to, just like David had been. But Tom was different from David in many ways. He was older, maybe 40 years old. He was quieter and more thoughtful. He didn't try to make me laugh every few minutes. Instead, he listened carefully to everything I said. I found myself telling him about David and the breakup. I hadn't talked about it with anyone except my mother, but Tom was such a good listener that the words just came out. "That must have been very painful," he said when I finished my story. "It was," I said. I trusted him completely. I thought he was perfect. Tom was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Nobody is perfect, Emma. We all make mistakes. Some mistakes are bigger than others, but we all have flaws." "Do you think I was wrong to end things with David?" I asked. "No," Tom said immediately. "You did what you needed to do to protect yourself. Trust is the most important thing in a relationship. Without trust, you have nothing." We talked for 2 hours. Tom told me about his life. He was a teacher at the local high school. He had been married before, but his wife had died of cancer 5 years ago. They had never had children. "I'm sorry for your loss," I said.
"Thank you," Tom said.
"It was the hardest thing I've ever been through. But I learned that life is short and precious. We shouldn't waste time on people who don't treat us well." When it was time to leave, Tom asked if he could see me again. I was surprised by how much I wanted to say yes. Tom and I started meeting once a week for coffee or lunch. He never pushed me to move faster than I was comfortable with. He never tried to kiss me or hold my hand. He just spent time with me and let me heal at my own pace. Slowly, I started to feel like myself again. Tom helped me remember what it felt like to laugh. He encouraged me to start writing again. You have stories to tell, he said. Don't let one bad experience stop you from doing what you love. Tom was nothing like David. Where David had been exciting and passionate, Tom was steady and reliable. Where David had made me feel like I was flying, Tom made me feel like I had solid ground under my feet. At first, I worried that this meant my feelings for Tom weren't real love. With David, everything had been so intense and dramatic. With Tom, everything felt calm and natural. One day, I talked to Mrs. Chin about it. I don't feel the same way about Tom that I felt about David, I told her. Is that bad? Mrs. Chun smiled. Different kinds of love feel different, she said. The love you felt for David was like a fire, hot and bright, but dangerous. The love you might feel for Tom could be like a warm house, not as exciting, but much safer and more comfortable. But how do I know if I really love Tom? I asked. Do you trust him? Mrs. Chun asked. I thought about it. Yes, completely. Do you feel happy when you're with him? Yes. Do you want to share your life with him? I was surprised by my answer. Yes, I think I do. Then maybe that's love, Mrs. Chin said. Maybe it's an even better kind of love than what you had before. 6 months after I met Tom at the museum, he asked me to be his girlfriend. We were walking in the same park where I had seen David with Sarah. But this time, instead of heartbreak, I felt hope. I care about you very much, Emma, Tom said. I know you've been hurt before, and I understand if you're scared to try again. But I want you to know that I would never lie to you or betray your trust. I looked into Tom's honest eyes and made another decision that would change my life. I care about you too, I said. And yes, I want to be your girlfriend. Tom smiled and took my hand. His kiss was gentle and sweet, nothing like David's passionate kisses. But it felt right. Dating Tom was completely different from dating David. Tom didn't surprise me with dramatic gestures or expensive gifts. Instead, he did small, thoughtful things. He brought me books he thought I would enjoy. He cooked dinner for me when I had a long day at work. He listened to me read chapters from the new book I was writing. With Tom, I felt safe to be myself. I didn't feel like I had to be more exciting or interesting than I was. Tom seemed to love the quiet, bookish person I had always been. 2 years later, Tom asked me to marry him. We were at the bookstore where we had first met years ago. Mrs. Chun had helped him plan the surprise. Emma, Tom said, getting down on one knee in front of the romance novel section, you've made my life complete. I can't imagine spending my future with anyone else. Will you marry me? I looked at this kind, honest man who had helped me heal from my broken heart. I thought about the steady, comfortable love we had built together. It wasn't the wild, passionate love I had felt for David, but it was something better. It was real and lasting and safe. Yes, I said. Yes, I want to marry you. Mrs. Chin cried happy tears as Tom put the ring on my finger. Other customers in the store started clapping. I felt so grateful for this second chance at love. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony with our family and friends. My mother was so happy. Tom is perfect for you, she told me. He loves you for exactly who you are. During our wedding dance, Tom whispered in my ear, I promise to always be honest with you, Emma. I promise to never break your trust. I knew he meant it. With Tom, I never worried about other women or lies or secrets. He was exactly what he seemed to be, a good man who loved me. A year after our wedding, I finished my novel. It wasn't a romance story like I had originally planned. Instead, it was about a woman who thought she had found perfect love, lost it, and then discovered something even better. I dedicated it to Tom. For my husband, who taught me that the best love is the kind that feels like coming home. The book was published by a small press. It didn't become a bestseller, but it touched some people's hearts. I received letters from women who had been through similar experiences. They thanked me for showing them that heartbreak wasn't the end of their story. Now, 5 years after that terrible day in the park, I can see that meeting David wasn't a mistake at all. It was necessary. I needed to fall in love with the wrong person to appreciate the right one. I needed to have my heart broken to understand what real love looked like. David taught me about passion and excitement, but also about pain and betrayal. Tom taught me about trust and commitment and the quiet happiness of sharing your life with someone who truly knows you. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if David had never cheated on me. Would we have gotten married? Would I have been happy with that exciting but uncertain love? I'll never know, but I don't need to know. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Yesterday, Tom and I found out we're going to have a baby. As I write this, he's in the kitchen making me tea and talking excitedly about baby names and nursery colors. This is what love looks like. Not dramatic gestures or passionate kisses, but someone who brings you tea when you're tired and dreams about your future together. I met love by surprise twice in my life. The first time, it felt like a mistake because it brought me so much pain. But now I understand that even painful love isn't really a mistake if it leads you to something better. The second time I met love, it didn't feel like a surprise at all. It felt like recognition, like finding something I had been looking for my whole life without even knowing I was looking. Mrs. Chun was right about many things, but she was especially right about this. There are different kinds of love, and the best kind is the one that feels like home.